there to all of my fellow gold diggers. This is your girl Rita, also known as the self-proclaimed gold digger. Welcome to my channel where I discuss my life as a wife, mom, entrepreneur, and business owner, all while trying to crush and achieve my goals. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I am so glad to have you. But if you are a fellow gold digger, welcome back. Y'all know I love and I appreciate each and every one of you. It is Sunday. Typically on Sundays we do a mystery shopping Q&A. However, this is another pre-recorded video. As I shared with y'all previously, November and December are busy months for me, not just personally, but also professionally in terms of my regular business when I'm not doing mystery shopping or notary work and things of that nature. So I already knew it was going to be hectic. So we are doing a pre-recorded video today, but I do have something special in store for you guys. I am going to be sharing my 5 rules when it comes to writing mystery shopping reports. So we're gonna get into that and go over that. Now, if you are new to mystery shopping and you're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean by reports? So typically when you do any type of mystery shopping, they want you to report on your experience. And usually what that involves is you answering some questions, writing a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs, depending on what they're asking for about your experience. So you're usually having to answer some questions. Sometimes you also might have to take pictures of things, and you may be wondering like what kind of questions that they might ask. It might just be questions about what was the name of the person who assisted you, or they could be asking, did they have certain promotional stuff available, or did they offer you certain promotional stuff, or did they do X, Y, and Z, that kind of thing. Those are the types of questions that they might ask. Or what did you enjoy about your experience? How could they improve the experience? So those are types of questions that can be asked during mystery shopping reports. There are a large number of questions that the reports can have. It just depends on not only the client, like the person that you are doing the shop for, like the actual retail store, as well as the mystery shopping company and the objectives that that particular client or the retail establishment is looking for. Now, in terms of pictures, it could be various pictures that you might have to take. Of course, if you are doing a mystery shop for a meal or eating or something of that nature, a lot of times they want you to take a picture of your food. They might want you to take a picture of the packaging to see how it arrived to you. If it was something that you ordered, like a fast food restaurant or something like that. Sometimes they might ask you to take a picture of the front of the store. And sometimes the pictures and stuff are not only for them to look at the quality of what you got or the presentation of what you got, how was the item presented to you, but also sometimes it serves as like a proof that you actually were at the store or whatever, and you actually did do the shop. So they might ask you to take a picture of your food. They might ask you to take a picture of the front of the store or the business that you went to. They will ask you to take a picture of your receipt if you purchased something. They might ask you to take a picture of a business card if you received a business card, any brochures, pamphlets, things like that, any type of material that you might have gotten while you were doing the mystery shop. They would want you to do that. Sometimes they'll have you take screenshots on your phone or screenshots of any correspondence you might have received from someone if they followed up with you, keeping record of your phone calls, that kind of thing. So those are the types of pictures as well as the type of questions that you might be asked when it comes to mystery shopping and mystery shopping reports. Now, my number one rule for reports, I'm calling it Rita's Rules for Reports. My number one rule when it comes to writing reports or doing any type of mystery shopping report is the report should not take more than 2 to 3 times as long as it took me to do the shop. Okay, I don't want the report to take any more than 2 or 3 times as long as it took me to do the shop. What I mean by that, so if I do a shop and it takes me 10 minutes to do the shop, I expect the report to only take me 20 to 30 minutes, hopefully less. But I don't want it to be twice as long or more than, at the very most, 3 times as long as what it took me to do the shop. Another example, let's say the shop took me 30 minutes. So in that instance, I would use the guideline that the report should not take me more than 60 minutes or at the most 90 minutes. And we'll get to that because even that, I'm kind of, for me, I'm not trying to do a report that long unless it's a hotel shop. But I don't want the report to take that long. That is just my rule of thumb when it comes to doing my mystery shops. I don't want the report to take too long, and it definitely shouldn't take much longer than the shop. Now, typically, I usually don't do any shops that take longer than 30 minutes, okay? Unless it's something like it's a restaurant and it's like a sit down restaurant, you know, you got to order your food, that kind of thing. But typically, I'm not doing a shop that takes longer than 30 minutes. And if it is a shop that I know is going to take longer than 30 minutes, or then my rule changes just a little bit. Then I want it to have a more 1-to-1 ratio. Like if it takes 60 minutes for me to do the actual shop, then I'm not trying to spend 2 hours on the report. I'm really not. I want to make sure that I'm not spending more than 1 hour on the report. But for most shops that are under 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that kind of thing, then that is where I use that rule of thumb. It shouldn't take more than 2 to 3 times as long for me to do the report, okay? Um, and that's why if you see me doing a shop and I say this shop is easy, best believe the shop is easy. And I'm not just talking about the shop itself. I'm talking when I say a shop is easy, and and I guess easy is not the best word for me to describe it. It just means it's more straightforward. Because what might be easy to me might be not so easy to you, but it's pretty straightforward. It shouldn't take long. So if you ever seen any of my previous mystery shopping videos, and I'm like, okay, yes, I love this shop. I'm gonna do this shop. It's easy. That's because not only is the shop straightforward, but the report itself is also straightforward, and I don't mind doing that, okay? So, any shops I do, typically they don't take longer than 30 minutes. Really, not that. They usually don't take much longer than 15, maybe at the most 20 minutes, unless it's like a bank shop or, and when it's a bank shop, it's like me opening up an account or something like that. Or a shop where I'm at a sit down restaurant where I have to order food and then they're preparing it right then and there. And then, of course, in those instances, it will take longer, okay? All right. Now, with that being said, like I said, I don't usually do any shops that take longer than 30 minutes. But I also, because of my rule of thumb, I usually don't do any shops that require you to be in the establishment for a certain amount of time. Like you might see some shops and it says you need to be there for at least 30 minutes, or you need to stay there for at least an hour or something like that. Or 20 minutes or something like that. I don't typically do those types of shops because when I have read through um, like the scenario and things like that. Typically with those, it seems like it's like, oh, this is going to be a little bit too detailed. Well, they want you to stay there for like an hour or something like that, or they have a specific time limit for what they want you to stay, and usually it's a quote unquote longer time limit. Usually it's because they want you to observe certain things or very specific things that are occurring. And it's like I ain't got time for all of this. Like if I'm gonna be there an hour, I want to treat it like if I was regularly there an hour, like something that's actually gonna mimic what I would already naturally do. So just by me reading some of the descriptions when they say that, and it's like in the criteria. Now I don't mind if they say you need to stay there for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's not unreasonable to me. But anything longer than that, then it's like, oh, okay, then it's very detailed or specific that they want me to observe over a period of time. And those types of shops I don't do. Now that's just me. That's just my personal preference. Not saying you have to do it that way. You do what's best for you. Also, what I find some of the shops where it says that you have to stay a certain amount of time, a lot of times, sometimes I won't say a lot of times, sometimes it don't even take all that. Like it's like I could get this shop done in 5-10 minutes, but you want me to stay here and observe stuff. And I get it. They want to see if the person is going to do X, Y, and Z, that kind of stuff. But it's like the actual meat of the shop, or the actual buying experience, purchasing experience, dining experience, whatever it is, it's like it doesn't even take that amount of time. Like I can get this done in like 10 minutes or so, and I'll be done with the shop. So I highly value my time. Time is a valuable resource that you cannot get back up. And so, whenever I feel like something is going to take up too much of my time, I don't do it. So, that is why I have my rule of thumb. I also have this rule of thumb, and this is why I don't do certain shops with certain mystery shopping companies because um, there's one company in particular that just has a ridiculously long report, so much so that they could easily streamline it. It does not have to be that intense or that redundant or whatever. I get some of why they're doing it, but it's like it don't take all that, okay, for it. And so, but for that reason, I don't do shops with certain companies because of the type of reports that they have. All right, so that's just my rule of thumb. That is my main rule that kind of governs how I do shops. And you might be like, well, how do you know if the report is going to take a long time? And that's what I say. I can kind of deduce stuff when I'm reading through the requirements that they have, and I'm like, ugh, this this is a lot for for what is typically required for me to do this particular purchase or whatever. You want me to do all of this? And so that keys me into knowing, yeah, they probably got some crazy, I won't say crazy questions, but some detailed or specific questions on this report. And this report is not as straightforward as I would like it to be. So I'm not gonna waste my time doing it, okay? But moving along, let me give y'all a couple other rules that govern me when it comes to my reports. The other rule I have, or the other, I should say, it's more like a tip or whatever, that I have is I take multiple pictures of the same thing. Now, I don't do an excessive amount of pictures. I might take two, no more than three pictures of the same thing. So if they require a picture of my food or something like that, then I'm gonna take it a couple of times just to make sure everything is there. Nothing is blurry. Sometimes I don't know, sometimes the angle or whatever. So I'll take a couple of pictures just to be on the safe side and so I can have a backup. No, in case if they ever request to see, like, did you take this picture? Or do you have another picture? Or this picture didn't upload correctly or whatever. I'll have a couple of pictures of the same thing. So I suggest that you take multiple pictures, not an excessive amount, but maybe two or three pictures, just to make sure you've covered your bases and everything. Um, the other tip or rule that I have that I always govern myself with when it comes to doing my reports is I suggest that you type your reports in like Google Docs, Word, or in email. Something that has spell check, pretty much. So that way you can know your report isn't going to get rejected because of misspelled words, poor grammar, that kind of thing. I personally use my email and I just type it up in there, make sure it flows, make sure I don't have any misspellings, that kind of thing, and then I'll upload it into the actual mystery shopping company's site to submit the report. And that is why I have always suggested to you guys to have an email kind of specifically for mystery shopping because I know any written reports where I've had to write a narrative or type up a paragraph or something like that, um, I know that I have documentation of what I wrote in the report, and it kind of helps you to cover yourself if they say, "Oh, you didn't mention this" or whatever, and then you already have a copy of what you typed up to say, "Oh, yes, I did mention this," or "I mentioned it there," or you can look back and say, "Oh, yeah, maybe I did not mention that," or whatever, and you can go back and fix it. So I recommend if you have to do a written paragraph. Now, I'm not saying like if you only got to write one sentence or something like that, or the name of the person who helped you. I'm not saying put that in like some kind of Google Doc or something like that. But if you have to type up like a paragraph or something like that, I highly suggest you put it in something where you can easily be able to spell check it and kind of go from there. Okay. Now, The next tip or rule that I have for you is take notes for shops that tend to be longer if you feel you won't remember. So if you have a shop where it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, take some notes on it. I usually will just take notes on my phone so that I can remember. Especially if I'm doing multiple shops in one day, which is rare. Y'all know I don't I don't mystery shop like that. But if I'm doing multiple shops in one day, I'm definitely taking notes to make sure I don't get the people's names mixed up. Like I called this person Sally and it really was Sue, for this shop, and Sue was at the other shop, or that kind of thing. So I usually will take notes on my phone. Um, every now and then I've taken written notes, but most of the times the notes I take are on my phone. And this is more so for longer reports or reports where I'm having to remember specific details. And I think that I won't remember, or I don't feel like remembering. Like I just want to write it down and refer back to my notes when it comes time to do my report. Okay. So if you're not already doing that, that is something that you can do. Now, another thing I do as well is I will do audio recordings for my shorter shops. And do audio recordings if it's allowed, because that varies from state to state. You can't record people. It could be illegal for you to record people in your state without getting their consent. So please check your state laws when it comes to that. But I will do audio recordings for shorter shops. The reason why I say for shorter shops, because you don't want to be listening to something that is long, like an hour or something like that, and having to go back and re-listen to something. That's more so where you would want to do take your notes and stuff so that you can quickly refer back versus trying to find out where in the audio this particular incident happened or whatever. So, but for short reports, I do use the audio recording, and that way I can easily refer. And when I say short reports, these are usually, or excuse me, short shops. These are usually shops that take like less than 5 minutes or so, no more than 10 minutes or whatever. And it's more so some of the questions might ask like, did the associate say this to you? Did the associate say that to you? And because the shop is so quick, sometimes you don't remember or that they said it, and you can just easily go back to your recording and say, oh yeah, they did say that, because I hear it on the recording and stuff like that. So I will use that, but don't recommend it for the longer shops, because also as you're listening back, that also will increase the amount of time it takes for you to do the report and everything. All right. So those were the 5 rules I have when it comes to reports. Now, if this seems like a lot to remember, or like this is too detailed and you're like, I'm new to mystery shopping, I don't want to do all this, okay? If it seems like a lot, just know if it's a shop that I have recommended, chances are the shop is straightforward and the report is not going to take long, with the exception of hotel shops. I've already always told y'all that hotel shops, the reports are intense and in depth. But anything else I pretty much have recommended on this channel that I say that I do, and I say, oh, it's easy, the report is easy as well. And if it's not easy, y'all know I will get up here and say, I ain't doing it because of the report, which is part of the reason why I don't do the apartment shops, because the shop is easy, but the report takes too long. It's too much follow up and back and forth and stuff like that. But if I said it was easy, and then when I say when I, excuse me, I know easy to some people might not be easy to me, might be different to other people. But pretty much when I say it's easy, I mean that it is a straightforward, fairly uncomplicated, fairly simple shop. Okay. So just know that if this seems like too much, also, too, here's another tip. If it seems like too much, or in terms of doing reports and stuff like that, look into the shops that require you to do it on an app. Um, a lot of those are pretty straightforward as well, since you're pretty much doing it in the app, or they say they want you doing it. Sorry, y'all. They want you doing it immediately after in their app or whatever. Usually those don't really require a whole lot of narratives. It's just like a whole bunch of like yes or no questions that you can easily get through in like 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. So yeah, so those are just my tips when it comes to reports, or my rules when it comes to writing reports. I hope this has been helpful for everyone, and I hope to see everyone soon.